In the biggest catfish of the year, Materialists has not only been marketed as a shiny, straightforward rom-com full of hot people and cliches, but it actually presents itself that way for a little bit before the mask comes off and Celine Song reveals a kind of deranged dissection of modern dating psychology and some very cynical characters that feels more in line with the somber but thoughtful dramatic elements of her first film, Past Lives, that won over the hearts of many. Whether or not this is a rom-com might be highly debated, and I think that's the root of what makes it such an interesting film. I'm like very excited by what Celine Song has done with her sophomore film here. Like in many ways it looks and acts like a rom-com, but it doesn't feel like one. It has humor, but it's dry and offbeat. And even though of course romantic comedies can have complex themes and take all different shapes, I ultimately think this is more of a romance drama that intentionally has that tropey exterior, and those things coexisting create such a unique experience. It's kind of reflective of the film's ultimate message that appearances and quantifiable facts can only get you so far. Love and, of course, art are things that we ultimately have to surrender ourselves to, which we will talk more about. But in Dakota Johnson's character Lucy's world, love and dating is just math. She's a matchmaker and a self-described voluntary celibate who puts people together based on superficial traits like their height, attractiveness, and income. I refuse to believe that a movie this year could have a dating as math scene that's better than the one in The Accountant 2. And I actually don't think this does because that scene is so funny. But it has its moments. I like the use of like zippy interview style montages of the ridiculous things that people demand for their matches. But this of course all makes sense to Lucy until she meets Pedro Pascal's Harry, a quote-unquote unicorn by her matchmaker logic, the same night that she runs into Chris Evans' John, who she has history with from another lifetime. I'll say straight up, there's a lot of stuff in here that I feel like shouldn't work at all, and if someone didn't click with it, I would not blame them. Like, the structure is a little wonky, there are moments that feel odd or clumsy because a lot of this film operates metaphorically. The dialogue can be very direct or stilted in a way that's sort of like the form is the function. These aren't well-rounded characters. They all exist in dating as math world only. And I actually really like how as Lucy starts to confront her feelings, the film starts to feel a little less rigid and more alive and glowy. There's even this motif of like nature and connecting back to those natural feelings and origins that I wasn't expecting. What people might take the most issue with though is that there's a very surprising plot element about halfway through the film that made my whole audience gasp. It's why I referred to the film as deranged, sort of in addition to something more benign that happens towards the end. And I think what Celine Song does is questionable. Like, I understand its use thematically, but considering how significant it is to the arc of the film, it was a big risk that sort of takes us out of this postured movie world in a way that not everyone will feel works or is even in good taste. It is the point that it does that though, and it also drives home that this movie isn't about these three people, it's about Lucy. We don't get to spend as much time as you might think with either of these men because, similarly to Past Lives actually, the men represent these two paths, these two different sides of herself. There are some really strong parallels between this and Past Lives, but kind of in the inverse, where our heroine has distanced herself from her past and is forced to reckon with that part of her and is changed by that reflection before making a big decision at the end. I guess Celine Song also had a short stint as a matchmaker for like 6 months too, so this is at least partially derived from her own experiences as well. One of the biggest things that I took away from the film was this gamifying of dating as a desperate play for control over something that is ultimately unpredictable and intangible. An idea that I'm sure we all find terrifying. Is all of this an illusion or a facade so we feel like we have some sort of power over love, the thing that by definition is sort of unknowable and untamable. You love someone because you just do. It's much easier to think that you can become a high-value male or a high-value female or whatever the fuck people are saying these days by getting a nose job or by working out, things that our shallow society has decided make someone have worth, instead of earnestly searching for love and acceptance that you might not get in return. It's very psychological, especially in how it deals with insecurity and Lucy having some things in her life that I don't want to spoil, but really round out a film that's interested in understanding the reasons why these sort of walls go up. The darkness in these characters is confronted head on in a way that allows for a really beautiful catharsis that made me tear up in one scene. scene. And these aren't necessarily new ideas. Like, people have always been shallow and insecure and self-loathing, but in an era where Tinder has added a height filter and there are many concerning Reddit threads about lying and playing this game, I do think the way that Song has approached it feels honest and modern and a little bit urgent. Without, though, like constantly name-dropping Hinge and TikTok and all of those things. I think the whole matchmaking thing was a really smart way to make it relevant but timeless. I don't know what I've been saying this whole time. The point is that I thought Materialists was great. It's a beautifully made film. I think I wouldn't say there are any performances that I'm like, give them an Oscar, but I think Dakota Johnson, Pedro Pascal, and Chris Evans are all really good. There were clips that came out that seemed like all the dialogue and delivery was just stilted and terrible, and I promise in the film it like makes more sense in the context of that moment. But again, it does have a very particular rhythm and language to it that it won't work for everyone, and people will feel is reflected in the performances as well. But everything just at the end of the day ended up working for me. I think it's a really interesting and exciting genre exercise. So I'm happy to report that I'm going to give Materialists 4 out of 5 stars. I'm excited to see what people think of this, especially as a sophomore feature. The pressure is on after Past Lives, but I will be seated for Celine Song's next film. As for right now, the next big release, I think, is 28 Years Later, which I am super excited for. That will be fun. That should be the next film that I cover on here. Let me know if you guys plan on checking out Materialists. Don't forget to like and subscribe and keep an eye out for more videos soon. Thanks for watching.